Welcome to Bonehead Weekly, and I am so excited because I haven't had a chance to talk to one of my friends in a long time, and he's on here. Wesley Gift, so good to see you.
Yeah, man, we missed you.
What's up, guys?
So
Good to
much.
see you again for the first time.
And Bryce Oquaye, I'm glad that you could be here. We've never met. Well, so quick,
Wesley, I do want to point out, Wesley, you seem to have a lot of DC memorabilia behind you. So are you going to tag team me on Bryce and his shit comic book opinions?
Sure, depending on what those opinions are.
all their shit.
I know y'all about to bond over one in particular.
That's so sad.
So now that Booster Gold is going to be one of the flagship components of James Gunn's DC Cinematic Universe revival, will you at least give me some credit?
No.
I'll give you the credit that you give somebody that like buys 15 scratch offs and a couple of them get some money,
Yeah, because look, I was gonna say let me give you some credit on how Iron Fist did for Marvel.
Oh, you petty today.
By the way, Bryce, you were so nicer than I would have been. I thought that was going to go a different way, and you went to scratch offs, and I was thinking 3 or 4 other ways I would have went with that. None of them are appropriate for Bonehead, and we do everything.
Dude, I'll be honest with you. I was waiting on us to do a Bryce episode sometime soon, because as soon as I was like, they introduced Booster Gold on Legends of Tomorrow, played by Donald Faison, and I'm like, yeah, fuck Bryce. And then the next, what was it, 2 weeks later, they canceled the show.
Hey, and I don't think I have to elaborate on why.
Wes, our friend Bryce and Ken were actually in the basement when we used to do these things actually live on a show many years ago. And well, I don't know, at least 3 or 4, when Warden's Watch was coming out. And he and Chad got in almost a knockdown drag out. And you know who's going to win that fight.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
The former boxer.
Right, Chad.
Well, I mean, I don't know, Chad. I know you could take some damage on the Band-Aids, man.
Kind of like you all have got kids young enough that the minion that they could just beat the shit out of in the head and nothing happens, and they can use his head to beat that's Chad.
Yeah, I'm Homer Simpson from the boxing episode.
Yeah. That's even better.
So
Sorry,
Wesley,
you got pulled into this. Yeah.
DC thoughts on Booster Gold?
To be honest, I don't know a whole lot about the character, but when I heard that announcement, I immediately started seeing like fan photoshops of Chris Pratt as Booster Gold, and I was like, please no. No.
No.
I need a break from Pratt, no offense.
No.
They're trying to get Chris Pratt to do everything, though. I shared a meme with my friends where they did somebody made a movie poster with Chris Pratt as Rosa Parks.
This is going to sound terrible, so of course I'm going to say it. That would only work if Anna Faris tried to play the person that made him get up.
Oh.
I mean, it's okay. I mean, I think nobody would see that coming. It would be M. Night Shyamalan could direct that. I think we could do it.
Yeah.
That's my hour in purgatory, by the way.
Bryce, the thing we have to remember about this production is that there will be no African Americans in it, just so we can make it as horrible as possible. Correct? Chris Pratt, Rosa Parks. What else?
I was going to say, phase 2 of DC will be Black Vulcan, starring Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt. Well, I thought Chris Pratt was going to play Steel.
Oh.
I'll be honest. The only thing,
Shaq.
I was saying, no, the only thing that would make me excited is when they did the Flashpoint thing later on, where they travel to another universe and they have to meet Shaq. And then I would be all in for it, because I think we're due. I think everybody wants to acknowledge, Michael Keaton as Batman, but let's give the Shaq still a little love. I think it's due.
I'm with it.
All right.
I'll give that more credit than Shaq Diesel.
Hey, look. We go show Shaq some love. He gave us the sequel to Shaq Fu and everything.
And Kazam.
All right, I'm going to get us back on track a little bit. It is really my pleasure to have Bryce Oquaye and Wesley Gift back on the. Well, Wesley, for the first time, thank you for joining us for Bonehead. I don't know why Bryce said for you to contact me to do this. It doesn't seem like a smart idea. But Bryce said something nice about me behind my back. I wonder if he knows what it is. I didn't hear it from Wes. There's a random lady. You were at a some sort of comic art expo something back in the fall, and it may have been on Transie's campus. I can't remember, but there was a lady and her dad who happened to know me, and they asked you if you knew him. It was like, and you said something to the account because she came back and was like, yeah, he said, if you're blah blah blah, you have to know Joe Louis. And it's like, that's so sweet.
Yeah, it was
I
think it was a person that works with you.
Yeah.
It's
a small world. It's a small.
It was at Carnegie Center, actually. That's where
I was at the Carnegie. Okay,
yeah. I was at the Carnegie Center, and I was talking to the family and everything, and I found out that they knew you, and I was like, "Yo, that's awesome."
Yeah, that's not awesome. You could do better than me, and you know. You're just looking for a shorter, fatter version of Ken Kirk.
Nah. See, we've got our perfect dynamics over here. You know, if the only thing that would make this moment better is to be in the basement on that couch again.
I would love for you to be back on the basement, and you and Wes are invited over anytime. In fact, you guys are going to be at LexCon, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe we can get together and do something. But we'll get back to that in a second. How do you guys know each other?
Wes, I'll let you start.
Gosh, when did we meet, Bryce? Well, I'll tell you, you mentioned Warden's Watch, Joe. So Bryce, when did you launch that? Like 2018, 2019?
Further back than that, I think.
Further back than that? Okay.
No, it had to be 28. No offense, because it has to be at least 2018 because we started the show in 2017. And the reason I remember and the reason I can't forget it is my son and the show all came out within 2 weeks.
Okay. Now, 2018 makes sense because me and Ken just recently shared some memory that I think said it's been like 5 years. So I think that makes sense.
Okay. So Bryce and Ken did Warden's Watch in 2018, we'll say. And so I missed the Kickstarter for that one, but I had seen Bryce and Ken at shows and just started chatting with them about how they made the book. I don't know if I ever told you this, Bryce, but one of my favorite set of panels ever in any comic is actually from a page from Warden's Watch, where the main character is battling the evil entity, and there's 3 panels, and he's fighting the entity in each panel. The only difference is the main character's hair gets a little bit more gray. And in those 3 panels, we have such a strong story that this person has been fighting just as hard for just as long to keep this enemy at bay. And there I don't think there was any dialogue or balloons or captions. It was just visuals that told the story. But reading Warden's Watch kind of told me, like, okay, at some point I have to work with Bryce on something. So we stayed in touch, and it was probably about 2 years ago where I came to Bryce with the Hard Justice script, and I said, Bryce, I got this story, and I feel like you're the only artist out there who can bring this to life and give it the attention that it deserves and the energy that it needs. So,
well, that's great. He fanboyed his way into your heart.
I fanboyed my way to Bryce's heart. Exactly.
And just finger banged his way into mine.
Oh, there's a mental image.
Don't
right. Try to draw that. You'll never pick up a pen again. You'll
never pick up a pen again.
The pen might melt.
Yeah, true. So what happened when you read the script, Bryce?
So yeah, immediately after reading it, I was like, yo, he's clearly a fan of the same things I'm a fan of. Cause like one of my favorite genres of video game are like the side-scrolling beat 'em ups, like the Streets of Rage, Double Dragon, River City Ransom, all those. And that's like it gave off this like 80s, early 90s type of energy, that beat 'em up type of energy, and the descriptions of the characters and just everything. I was like, whoa, okay, this is pretty dope. And then and Wes was like, all right, he treated it like a sandbox. He gave like certain base descriptions, but getting the opportunity to play in my style with this world that was very familiar to me because of the references. I was like, okay, yeah, this is going to be something I'm going to go crazy on.
You mentioned video games, and I wanted to bring this up because I was checking out the Kickstarter. Cover B by Justin Stewart is a Double Dragon homage, but I've got to say, as I was looking at it, it took me back. And everything, the art and everything I've seen, speaking of side-scroller, there was the knockoff of Double Dragons lovingly called Bad Dudes, if anybody remembers Bad Dudes.
Oh yeah.
And I literally was...
There it is.
Yes, I literally was looking at this, and I'm like, it literally brought back, as I looked through the art samples and everything, I'm like, I wasted so much time. I found out that if you turn the volume way up on your TV, that kick that they do in Bad Dudes is a helicopter. It does the same thing. Yeah, it is perfect for that. That tells you how often I played these games. That being said,
the word you're looking for is geeky. Keep going.
Yes, nobody's shocked by me being a geek. But I just wanted to say, as I looked at this, it literally hit me again, that nostalgia. But also, I'm like, yeah, I gotta get my hands on this. That brings all that back to, because my son's a gamer now, but every game now has to be so intense and so.
Yeah.
And there's 400. You got to find all the hidden stuff, and I'm like, I just want to kick a dude into a barrel and have it explode for no reason.
Yeah. Like for me, a lot of times, video games they're like they're either gonna be so compact to the point of like I could play this in 10 minutes and drop it, or they're gonna be so involved that I know I'm not gonna have time to touch it till like I get a vacation type thing. Like that whole that perfect little pocket of like old school, like I could beat this game in 2 hours type of energy. That's just, it doesn't really exist anymore. So like tapping into that nostalgia, just that whole era of video games and buddy cop type energy, like Rush Hour and Lethal Weapon.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah. It's really fun.
So, Bad Dudes. I was going to say something about it earlier, and I completely forgot. You guys just launched your Kickstarter 8 hours ago. Yesterday. It's not been long.
We launched it at 12:30 p.m. March 1st today,
and I was looking like James and could not believe him. By the way, I haven't bought my copy yet. I'm still mad because they didn't personalize my signature. It's like, of all the people they didn't personalize, like to Joe, blah, 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 on Warden's Watch. And this is kind of a half joke. I think I gave you all a hard time about it about 4 years ago, and I don't expect you to remember. But you're halfway there.
We're about 2/3 now.
2/3 now, yeah.
Yeah.
Are you? I mean, I'm not saying I'm shocked, but that's got to be a really good feeling.
Shit, I am.
Oh yeah, it has been. Trust me, I've been waiting 3 months to hit that launch button, and as soon as I hit that launch button, I mean, I was just overwhelmed with emotion. I wanted to throw up. I actually hit the launch button and then left my office and ran errands for a while because I wanted to get away and just like get out of the headspace for a bit, and then my phone has been blowing up all day long. In fact, I think it was about an hour and a half ago, Bryce screenshotted an email to me. We're now a project we love on Kickstarter. So they emailed us to congratulate us and to give us a special banner image that we can share on our social media to promote our project even more. So
I mean, I'm so happy for you guys. I really am, because that is so cool. And it's love.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
It's love. I mean, that's the reason why it has to make you just get all the warm and fuzzies.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
sure.
Well, and man, and you all know me. You all have known me for a little while now, and
4 or 5 years, yeah.
yeah, like I feel like just the cornerstone of everything that I've been able to do up to this point, it's all just been because of, just people showing love and me trying to do the same. So it's really, really super validating. And Wes to give Wes his flowers, man, the level of hustle that Wes has, like, yo, it's insane. Like, we collect, of course, collaborating on this project is one thing, but Wes really hit the ground running and was that I can to try to make sure that this is successful. And yeah, like he hustled, like, for real.
I really want you to talk about that because not to get too serious, but this is because we get people all the time about, well, why don't you have a sponsor? Well, we would do sponsors. Well, why don't you why don't you have a GoFundMe or whatever, a Patreon? And we've thought about it. We've almost clicked the button, 3 years ago, Chad? I mean, we were a day or two away from it. And the reason is, one of the big reasons is because of what you were just talking about, Bryce, the hustle. And I just don't, there's something about, I would be fine with a sponsor, but it's about asking people just to give us money all the time. I was like, oh, well, we would probably do this for free. We have been doing it for free. And don't get me wrong, it is paid in dividends, for example, friendships and meeting so many awesome people that we've never been able, that I can't put a monetary amount on. But I just want you to talk about it, Wes, if you can, about the hustle and the hard work, because the project, writing it, that's one hard work. Then actual drawing it and then doing it and putting it together, that's a whole lot of hard work. But shit, that's the fun part. Nobody wants to talk about the business, which is a pain in the ass.
Yeah. Yeah. So you say hustle, I say grind. It's been an absolute grind.
Yeah.
So when we got the pre-launch page up and running, I really relied on the community, the indie comics community, not just the friends that we have in Lexington, but just people I've met on social media. I had read somewhere that if you're on Kickstarter and you launch a project, I read somewhere that people who look at your campaign will look at, okay, this is their campaign, but who else have they supported? How many other projects have they supported? So for the last few weeks and months, I've been trying to build up some rapport in the Kickstarter community and just backing all types of different indie comics projects. And with so many projects, I would try to throw $5 here, $10 here, just to give some support and to get my name out there and recognized.
Because it's money.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And so, when we had the pre-launch page, I then went through my Kickstarter pledge log, essentially, and messaged these folks and was like, hey, I really liked your project. Would you mind checking out, my pre-launch page? Didn't ask him to follow or to give me anything. I said, hey, just look at it. Just take a moment and look at it. And we started getting people following the pre-launch page from there. And so, Bryce gives me a lot of credit, but I mean, in the way I see the grand scheme of comics, I wrote the script and gave it to Bryce. And then as a writer, my job was basically done. And then Bryce gets started on the whole world creation art component of the story. And I couldn't just sit back and wait for him to work through that and to bring it to life. So I was like, okay, what all can I do to help this project succeed? And Bryce was instrumental in this as well. We had flyers printed up that I've got flyers that I've been taking around to comic book shops in the area. Every weekend this month, I'm traveling somewhere to visit shops and to talk to people about Hard Justice and hand out flyers to promote the Kickstarter. Bryce and I are doing a show in 2 weeks. I'm traveling to another show next week. We'll be at LCTC. In fact, Bryce knows this, but I can tell you guys, I'm working with Tyler Phillips, who you probably know, Joe, from the LCTC staff.
Oh my God. Do you want to know stories about Tyler?
maybe later after the show. But Tyler's helping me.
Can I real quick give Tyler a shout out of one of
Go
the
for
nicest,
it. Yeah, please do,
Tyler
because
Phillips
Tyler's a great dude.
is one of the nicest people I've ever met. Do not say this, that I said any of this shit behind his back. Tyler Phillips dedicated and worked so hard during the flooding of southeastern Kentucky. Chad and I went down, and Tyler was on the ground. You talk about flowers, Bryce. That guy.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just a little bit. He worked.
That's really awesome.
No, that's things that he would never mention and never talk about, and never he does them. Sorry.
That sounds exactly like Tyler,
Yep.
But I reached out to Tyler, and so we're gonna have Hard Justice flyers and Hard Justice logo stickers in every VIP bag that's gonna be given out to LCTC. So
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and all I did was, I got to know Tyler through volunteering at LCTC year after year. And I just messaged him the other day, and I was like, "Hey, man, I've got this Kickstarter. I want to try to promote it at LCTC. Is there any chance I could get my flyer into the VIP bags?" And he's like, "Well, if you've got something else to go with it, we can probably make it happen." So I ordered a bunch more stickers, and he was like, "You give me the flyers and give me the stickers, I'll take care of the rest." So that's going to be a huge help for us, and especially because LCTC is towards the tail end of our campaign. That'll give us a big boost to be able to just have those flyers and stickers in the bag that people to get excited and get them information about it. So yeah, I mean, it's just a constant grind of how can I get this out there before we launched. I'll say this and I'll wrap up. Sorry.
I want people to know the business side, because I feel like people think, oh, I'm just going to sit in the corner with my friend and we're going to do something. No, if you're going to do it professionally, it is work, and it's work that you don't want to do because it's past the creative.
Right. Absolutely. Right. But Kyle Starks, who's there, I follow him on Patreon, and I messaged him a few weeks back, and I was like, "Hey, my pre-launch page is live. Check it out." Because he had given me some advice way back when about getting into comics writing. But as far as Kickstarters, he told me, he said, you have to talk to somebody and anybody every single day before you launch your Kickstarter and during the Kickstarter. Every single day, you have to promote it to anyone and everyone who will listen. So, and I heard him when he said that. And then now that we've launched, it's just, it just sunk in even more of how much you've got to push this. So
back to what you said, whether it be the hustle or the grind, you have to put in the hours, and it's not easy. It's never, if it's easy, everyone would do it.
Absolutely. Well, and it's, I'm very grateful for just the amount of, the whether it's grind, hustle, whatever, the amount of the things that Wes has done throughout all of this. Super, because from my end of the spectrum, being a working artist requires that at times I'm juggling a lot. It's that small business aspect of the things. So it's like being creative and at the same time having to handle business in these ways kind of puts you in a situation to where when you're, if you're, depending on what it is that you're working on, you may not always have somebody that's as put together in their planning, which requires you to have to step out of the creative lane more than you would like to, and just delays things. And Wes just straight out the gate was like, no, like he had his mission, and we would talk about things, mix and match ideas and stuff, but it was really dope to be able to just have conversations and then just hit milestones moving forward. Like it's huge. It's huge. So yeah, man.
This is so, I'm just so happy to hear it. And I'm so happy that we know so many of the same people, so many good people, and to give the Greers a little bit of they've always been pretty good about supporting independent folks, and at least giving them access to stuff like that, and giving them access to 20,000-30,000 people at Lexington Comic-Con. So I do appreciate you guys talking. Yeah, I just love it. I love that you put in the work, and I want that hat so bad off your head, Wes. And I took a second to look on the Kickstarter, and I was like, "Where's the damn hat?"
Well, and I got to talk to Bryce about this. So we have shirts on the Kickstarter, and people have been buying up shirts like crazy. And people have been messaging me. They're like, "I see the hat, Wes. Where's the hat? Where's the hat?" So I think, Bryce, we got to go back and add the hat to the Kickstarter. So
I think we do, because I got a handful of messages about the hats as well. For real, I had, because some of my friends, they were saying they wanted the flat bill joint.
Okay,
buddy,
and flex fit. None of that.
I take a hat
bullshit
wherever I can get a hat.
right.
But
the snapback makes the back of this head itch. I want a flex fit.
I hate a flex fit.
Sons of bitches.
Hey, Chad, we might have to get you a toboggan with your shit break up. Not gonna lie.
I think that's an add-on. I think y'all should do that as an add-on that people can add. You know, you need it for multiple weather, so you can have an all-season hard justice.
You kidding me, man? Look. You better give me a damn motorcycle helmet. Who you kidding?
They were talking about the Double Dragon. I love the Tango and Cash.
Hey.
An underrated gem of 80s buddy cop. Just wonderful, terrible movie.
That's where I learned such valuable lessons as to know if it's cocaine, you have to stick it in your mouth.
Hold on. I just got to make sure. Joe, you know Double Dragon was a video game before it was a movie, right?
Nope.
Oh, my God.
Tango and Cash.
Joe's video game knowledge stops at Pong. Don't even bring up Pac-Man.
If I'm not mistaken, wasn't the cartoon before the movie too, or did the cartoon come after the movie?
I'm only talking about Tango and Cash.
I feel like the cartoon came after the movie.
I think you're right.
Yeah, because the cartoon went real crazy. That was when they gave those.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, let's hide our face. Let's become superheroes by suddenly exposing our chest and putting on a half mask. I don't know who these people are now.
Hey,
that's worse than the Superman gimmick.
Look, man, that's how you had to do it. Look, you had to put the coin together to transform. You had to,
that was almost as dumb as wearing a yellow handkerchief over their head.
Oh. Well, hold on.
Slam.
I'm gonna let you slide with that. I'm gonna let you slide with that because they canceled your show.
I was about to say.
Bonehead Weekly's live show Friday night at 7 during 6 o'clock during Lexington Comic Con's been canceled. See how I got a plug in there, Wes? Yeah. Talking about plugging your own stuff.
There you go. By the way,
you two need to come to the live show. We're gonna have a special guest there. You guys need to show up.
Oh yeah.
Last year I gave out bourbon.
So Wesley, I'm joking about I Booster Gold seriously is one of my favorites, but my top two favorites are Green Arrow and Green Lantern. So are you based on what I'm seeing in the background, are you a Green Lantern fan as well?
A huge Green Lantern fan. Yes. Yeah. In fact, so if I can sidebar for a moment, when the pandemic hit, I just right about the time the pandemic hit, I decided that I wanted to pursue writing comic books because I've written other things for forever. I took an online comic book writing class with Ron Mars, who, if you know Ron Mars, he's a very prolific writer for comic books. He's written for basically every publisher, but he penned a lot of issues of Green Lantern Volume 3. But I got to take a class with him and learn the craft of writing comics. And then after taking that class, I'm like, okay, I'm just going, full steam ahead with this. So
I actually wanted to ask that question because we've had various types of authors, screenwriters on the show, but obviously writing for a comic book is different than just sitting down and writing. I shouldn't say just sitting down and writing a novel or writing a short story, but it's a different format because you have to have something that you can hand to an artist and say, okay, make this, right? Or interpret this or so. Can you talk a little bit about, having written other stuff, what was the mindset was there a different mindset you got into it, or was it formatting? Because I think that's what a lot of people don't understand. They think that comic book writing is the same as a short story or something like that. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So I would say it's more about formatting, because one of the biggest things I had to learn when I first started writing comics is, of course, you know, a comic book is a series of sequential images. Okay, each image captures one action. Okay, so and you know, each page is split into panels. Okay, so you can only have one action per panel. Okay, so if I were to get up from my desk, walk across the room, and open the door, that would be 3 panels. You know, getting up is 1 panel, walking across the room is 2nd panel, opening the door is 3 panels. Okay, you could write that differently in a screenplay or a short story. So you gotta really kind of plan ahead as far as the action that takes place in your story. Because and one thing that Bryce had to help me with is towards the end of Hard Justice issue 1, there's this big climactic fight scene. Well, I had crammed so much action in the back of the book that something you also got to consider is the more panels you have per page, the smaller they get, and the smaller the panels get, the less detail you can put in those panels.
Yeah. Look
So
at
I was
George. Look at
cramming,
every George Perez comic book. Yeah.
yeah. So I was
Yeah.
cramming all this action into so many panels on each page, and Bryce, thank goodness, was like, "Hey, man," he was like, I see what you're doing. To make this work, I have to, you know, expand this over more panels, which means more pages." So initially, I think the script I gave Bryce was 26 pages, and now the actual comic is going to be 33 pages of story because I put so much in there. Bryce was like, "If we're going to do this right, I've got to expand it." So
Yeah.
if it's just, you know, just part of the writing process, part of the learning process, you know.
Well, and it's always it's always helpful when the writer is flexible, because that's the thing that, and to my benefit, you know, typically when I'm working with people, it's either people that I have some sort of relationship with or somebody that's familiar with my style, so they give me a level of flexibility just off of the strength of knowing what I do. And that in itself kind of makes it a little bit easier in situations where things have to be adjusted, and being able to kind of communicate in that way. Yeah, like sometimes in sequential art, it's one of those, well, matter of fact, in anything really, it's that less is more approach, you know. And I know one of the things that I've picked up over the years especially is, like, if you can imply something without even doing it completely, like in a way that makes it obvious, like instead of showing the door opening, just put the hand on the doorknob, that type of stuff. Go for it. As long as the composition is clear, go for it.
I think the other thing is that you kind of talked about here, both of you, is that there's this level of trust, right? There's this level of, because I think that's one of the things that a lot of people, and I'll admit I fall into this, is, oh, we have an idea and we have a great idea and we may even actually work on it, but then it's, oh, there's a lot of second guessing. And I think that fades if you have somebody that you can trust, that you can say, hey, you know. And so talking about that, you know, approaching somebody, as you talked about, Wes, going, you know, hey, I want you to do this. That's a level of trust that is necessary, I would think.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you know, that was something that Ron talked about in the comic book writing class is, you know, at the end of 4 weeks, we had a script, but it's just words on a page. And he was like, now you got to go find an artist. And he was very upfront. He was like, you've got to be flexible because, you know, unless you draw it yourself, and you can draw it yourself, you know, you have to rely on somebody else's efforts and talent, and, you know, things may change. You know, and I am by no means an artist. I couldn't draw myself out of a paper bag. I have no artistic ability. So seeing Bryce's work and everything he puts out, you know, I had a high level of trust with Bryce, because I thought, you know, seeing what Bryce can do, and just knowing who he is as a person, I feel like we can definitely work together, and he's going to pull off something amazing. So there's definitely a level of trust. A strong level of trust between us. So, or else if I didn't feel like I could trust Bryce, I wouldn't have gone to him. But Bryce is such a top-notch guy, I knew he could do it. So,
and by the way, I just want to point out, because, you know, you're talking about Ron Mars, we got to talk about, you know, for those who may not know who Ron Mars is detrimental in giving us probably the best Green Lantern ever, Kyle Rayner.
Yes, absolutely.
Hey, that's facts.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, if I'm not
Oddly
mistaken,
enough,
Hold on. You
I
guys
have
got
every-
along about something.
real
Agree
quick
on
now.
something.
Dude, Kyle Rayner's man. He's amazing. He
Well,
had
you and Bryce reached across the aisle and hugged. One thing. Now let's break it up again by mentioning Booster Gold.
Now, I've got a question though about that. Now, I could be shaky because, admittedly, I read Green Lantern, but I was reading as a fanboy at the time, so my knowledge of. Now, was Ron Mars the one that gave us the refrigerator story?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Ron Mars gets credit then, because that literally was one of the things where I'm like, that's not supposed to happen in Green Lantern. I read a bunch of the Hal Jordan stuff, and I'm like, that's a
I mean, he's also detrimental in giving us the story about how, you know, Hal Jordan, who was so grief stricken from his Coast City being devastated, that he recreated the whole town using his Green Lantern ring, and that was Ron Mars too. I mean, that's amazing.
Can I just interject real quick? So I know a lot of people remember the fridge issue, which was issue 54.
Yeah.
But what I think tops that issue is issue 109 of that run is Ghosts of Christmas Past, I think is the story. And and Ron Mars wrote it, but it's about Jade, if you remember the Green Lantern Jade.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
In that story, she encounters a guy who is a mall Santa who abused her as a child.
Yeah.
And
I didn't see that one.
So you know, there's flashbacks of, I think she was in an orphanage and she was like physically abused. I don't know if it went further than that, but now she's an adult. She has the power of, you know, the Green Lantern ring, you know, and now she's confronted with, I have all this power and I'm faced with this guy who harmed me as a child, and it's just tense the entire story. So I prefer that one over the fridge episode.
You mentioned that, and I think tying back to that story and art type thing, it reminds me there's Liam Sharp who did the Incredible Hulk for a while and is doing some other stuff now. One of the pieces of art that he did when he was on the Incredible Hulk is this about the Incredible Hulk, written by Peter David as well. But it's, you know, he has all this power, and there's one issue that also features Man-Thing, and I love Man-Thing. It's one of my favorite characters. But
Swamp Thing's better.
Where they're fighting, I'm sorry, Chad, you spoke up. Speak sense next time. Anyway, but the scene is much similar to that storyline. I think there's something so powerful about those stories. While all that's going on, there is basically a child predator, and there's just a scene where Liam Sharp draws this shoe on the edge. It's either in a boat or on the shore, and it's just a sign the kid's taken. And it doesn't matter if the Hulk shows up. It doesn't matter if Man-Thing shows up. The damage is done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so I think those stories, and I think that's one of the things that is it's apropos to this conversation. I think that's why people who dismiss comic books, because I read comic books a lot growing up, people be like, you need to read other stuff. And I'm like, no, comic books, when done, there's something more to them than words and art. They can carry forth so much emotions in a single panel, and they give you something else a panel later.
Also as well, if a Swamp Thing, Kyle Rayner, or Booster Gold would have been there in that issue, none of that shit would have happened.
Well, see, Chad, the difference is Booster Gold would have stolen something from the kid to make himself look better.
Probably.
He would have taken both the shoes, Chad. He would have taken both those shoes.
Kid would have been safe.
To expand on what you're saying, though, with comics and everything, it's an absolute fact. Like comics were just in a lot of ways introducing young people to like just way more advanced subject matters than anybody was talking to us about. Because I remember, I started reading mad early, like, because my mother, she introduced me to comic books. My mom was a comic person. She used to like Fantastic Four and stuff like that. So she gave me comics really, really early, and I had a higher reading level because of it. And it's something that, like, it's something that I always think back on. And then, like, over the years, just all the stuff that you learn, and just it's all comics. I credit a lot of things straight to comics. So at this point, I hope people have the proper understanding of, like, nah, this ain't just like throwaway literature.
Well, and
Right.
I think you're right. I think it shows how things have changed, though, because I had a friend who briefly owned his own comic store, and he moved is the only reason he closed it. It was doing really well, but he got married, things changed. But I talked to him once, and he said it was really funny because the people that picked on us in school were now his customers because movies started to come out, and it was like, oh, Captain America doesn't suck, and that's not goofy. That carries the story, and I think maybe the rest of the world, because of movies, have started to catch up. But I think I think it's interesting because Stan Lee used to talk about, of course, when people ask him what he did when Marvel was first in its, when before Marvel was Marvel, he'd lie. He would say, I'm an author, right?
Yeah.
And I think now, it's these people are icons.
It's funny. You saying that. I mean, it's funny timing because I was literally like, I just posted something not long ago. I was having a conversation with a friend. It's kind of reminiscent on things, and it's just interesting because last year I had the fortune of being able to say that I've been doing what I do for about 10 years now, and looking back on when I started and everything that I had to go through to hustle up to this point. The journey of artists, writers, and everything, it's all comparable. But the support and the things that I get now from people that before thought I was crazy, that's the most mind-blowing thing to me. And not in some sort of way of like nanny, nanny, boo, boo, but more like it just shows a shift in culture that makes it makes things that were pipe dreams or unrealistic things seem so much more tangible now. And it makes me feel very hopeful for younger people.
Well, and I want to say this to both of you all because the fact that this is kind of video game infused, I'm really excited to share this with my kids. To share, because I think that's you mentioned comic book. My parents had the philosophy of, and they luckily did not exclude comic books. If it was a book and I would read it, I had to read them. I couldn't collect them. I had to read them. But they would, if they could afford it all, they would buy it. And that's what really started. And it influenced, like you said, so much. I love Crime and Punishment, but quite frankly, I found out about Crime and Punishment because it was referenced in a Batman comic. And it led one thing to another. But I'm really excited about this because I think, I'll be able to, for lack of a better term, hook my son on this because he loves video games. He even loves classic video games. He has the old Sega system, converter thing. And so I'll be able to say, hey, you should check this out. But at the same time, and Bryce, I have to give you credit here. You probably don't remember, but several years ago at Lexington Comic-Con, you had a Black Panther print. And my daughter, that's her all-time favorite character to this day. And we bought it. And I wanted to give you credit because that has been a constant in her room. Now the Barbie Dream House has moved out. We now have our own artist desk.
It's at my place now. Don't ask.
Yeah. It's not for his child either. It's kind of weird. It's call before you show up, or he may be playing. Anyway, the point being,
I'm a pretty princess, you bitch.
That now we have a lot of anime stuff and Demon Hunter and stuff like that. But that has been a constant. That piece of art has been a constant in the room. And I think it's really fascinating as a parent, not as somebody just talking to you all about, but I really appreciate more and more people who create like this because I can now chart, like my daughter, I have 3 paintings in my office. One she did of me of a dragon to watch over me and stuff like this, but it's all because she got exposed to that stuff. And I think whether you're a comic book fan or not, if you have children, take them to Comic-Con, take them to something like that. Let them meet artists, let them meet authors. So I really do. I want to say, as a parent, not as me as a podcast guy, but I wanted to say thank you all both because this is another way to introduce these topics, to introduce this as a way, I can look at my son and say, hey, you love video games? Okay, this is nostalgia. But they got here by not only playing the video games, but hustling and grinding and doing all those things. And I think so much of these conversations are really important. So I had to get in my parental thank you because it really has meant a lot to see my kids do it and to see how they connect to things. And it's, my son got hooked on, there's a Diary of an 8-Bit Warrior book series, and it's about video games. but it's, what would it be like if you were actually lived in a Minecraft town or something like that. And so I love stuff like this because it's another way to introduce them and say, hey, you can pursue that dream.
Yeah.
Take effort. You're going to have to put down the controller and do some other stuff to expand on it, but you can do it. So sorry, I sidebarred, but thank you.
No,
thank you for saying that.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. And man, I consider it, and I'd imagine Wes would probably agree too. It's a privilege, you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, shit, we all work hard towards our dreams, our things, but to have the ability to do anything that would be beneficial to another person, be it, boosting your morale or, inspiring somebody, and, be it a child, whoever, or just for me in particular, being a Black artist and just increasing the visibility of people that look like me in places that they don't see me. Like, it's, for me, all of it is, it's something that I just feel very fortunate to be able to do. I feel privileged. And when I hear stuff like that, it just makes me feel so much better about just, sometimes I'm up wild times of the night. And it's moments like, it's moments and things like that that make me feel like, okay, hell yeah, we doing all right.
Yeah, because I would imagine, and Wes, I don't know how you feel, but writing and creating, being up late at night creating, that can be a very lonely place, and wondering what's going to take and what doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I killed the conversation. Good job, Jay. Good job. Get off your soapbox. Get off your soapbox. Get off.
Yeah. No. I'm sorry. What do you got, Joe? You got anything?
No, you right. You are absolutely right. Like, If anything, I was curious. I was curious about Wes's take on it. But you are right. It can't be. That's why leaning into 6-bomb boards and stuff like that is so important to me, or just trying to keep some sort of like circle of people around me. I feel like me and Ken talked about this even years ago, of just that whole thing of just having, or, people like you all that are, close friends, Wes, just, Ken, we all know the same people. And it's not just coincidence that we all know the same people. It's like this communal aspect of things that just keeps you sane, because it is a solitary lifestyle. It can be very difficult on some days as opposed to others.
And most of us all have day jobs.
Yes.
Let's just go ahead and say it. Most of us have other careers. There is no money to be made here.
Yeah. And to answer your question, James, so there's two other people I got to highlight and talk about. So before I took that class with Ron Mars, there's two
Bryce
people.
Went to pee. He's back. Sorry.
No, I had to plug up.
There's two people I've leaned on heavily in the comics community of Lexington. Sean Pryor is our editor for Hard Justice. So before I even gave the script to Bryce, I wrote the script and reached out to Sean Pryor and was like, hey man, I know, you're top notch. You've written so many things. Can you take a look at this and give me feedback, give me notes, what I need to revise? So he was instrumental in helping Hard Justice. And then Justin Stewart, who did our variant cover, I kind of reached out to him on for the business side of things, because Justin's been in the industry for a long time as well. But those two were instrumental. I think of them as my mentors, because they kind of gave me the guidance and told me where to go, but then how to get there. So it can be a lonely place, but we reach out to those who are around us to help us move forward.
And they gave freely, right? There's not like it was competition. They gave freely.
Right. Yes. Yeah. No competition. No. And in fact, I want to pinpoint this. Sean, Hard Justice would not be possible without the contributions from Justin and without the contributions from Sean, and both of them pledged the Kickstarter today. And I was actually chatting with Justin Stewart back and forth today. And as we were talking, I got a notification on my phone that Justin backed the Kickstarter. And I said, bro, you didn't have to do that. You helped us get here. And he said, we all rise up together.
Yep.
It's beautiful. Yeah. That's absolute facts. And I mean, it's a wild full circle too, because I credit Justin and Sean generally for my career. I really do, because I don't a lot of the things that I've been able to accomplish and places and things that I've been able to be within, it's because when I was first starting in all this, Sean took the time to talk to me and follow up with me and allowed me to ask him questions, and he mentored and coached me. And Justin did the exact same thing for me. And they did not know me, and they had no reason to. All they saw was, hey, there's this young dude who's trying to do these things, and all they wanted to do was give me the same type of love that I try to give to people now. It's that whole pay it forward type of thing. So just as much as they've contributed to this project, that's just how they get down. Like it's an each one teach one type of thing, and we just all we would all reap the benefits of that type of behavior. So yeah, man, just shout outs to everybody, because I think generally just our whole collective, just everybody that we know, it's just great people, man. We're really,
we are, yes,
yeah. Well, I not now that we're all done telling each other how amazing we are. I know I had to bring it down.
Nobody said anything to me.
Well,
I'm sorry, Chad. That's because you're not amazing.
Chad. It wasn't out of
your pain tolerance is really high, and I kind of envy that.
I was about to say, Chad took a lot of battle damage, man.
Yeah, he is battle damage, Chad.
I was gonna say he's like that. Remember the He-Man action figure that you could hit the chest?
I still have mine. I still have mine.
Up.
The kid and I. I was trying to show it to the kid too during lockdown, and he was 3. Now he would understand. He's just like, I don't understand. It doesn't work right.
What's odd is if Chad was an action figure, the rare variant would be the completely unscarred one. That would be the one people would be like, "Oh, I got it. That's a collector's item."
Who wants this pristine piece?
I was gonna say, does anybody want me to pull up on YouTube and show everybody my purple toe too?
No.
He's got Who says Chad with a full head of hair? Who's that guy?
What I do want to do is sell. Hold on.
Hey, I'm not judging, dude. I've got a widow's peak that mountaineers can't climb.
And so let's be honest. I've never had a full head of hair. Even when I had a full head of hair, I was riddled with cowlicks. My hair went straight up, guys. It was like this.
I mean, no disrespect, Chad actually looks better bald.
You rock the bald, man. You do.
I mean it, no disrespect. I know powder looks better bald. So
this is one of those
Patrick Stewart of Star Trek Captain.
This is one of those traumatizing experiences from high school. Is I tried like hell when I had hair. This cowlick, man, straight up. It was like this. It was like it was giving a high to everybody who walked by me. I tried like hell to get it down. And one time my sister, she put mousse on the hair to make it go all the way back. She sprayed it with hairspray. And I went to school, and the fucker was so Herculean to go straight up that it split. And when it split, it took all of my other hair with me. I had a split right down the middle, and everybody said, "Oh, look, Chad's got an ass head." For a solid month.
Oh,
a solid month, I was ass head.
Which, oddly enough, I had no idea you were the inspiration for Butthead from Beavis and Butthead. I learned something new every day.
I am going to have to work really hard not to say that.
I don't care.
Hold on, Joe. Why would you start working really hard to not say anything now?
I really do. I don't think people know that 80% of the shit that comes to my head actually doesn't come out. Anyway, I want to sell some comics real quick. I want you all to talk a little bit about the characters. I want to know about Joseph St. Rains and Rex Sampson. I know you don't want to give away the whole thing, but just talk a little bit about the characters for me, please. Not both of you at one time.
I was about to say, Wes, you start. You start, brother.
I'll start. Okay, so Joseph St. Rains is pretty much our main protagonist, but he is a former cop turned private investigator. And then Rex Sampson is just a younger martial arts enthusiast dude. But essentially, the heart of the Hard Justice story is that crime is running rampant all over Paradise Bay, the city. Mm-hmm. And so with things getting out of control, these two guys decide that they want to settle things their own way, the hard way, and beating up criminals with their fists.
Yep. Yeah.
As we say in the video, it's Lethal Weapon meets Double Dragon is our pitch.
And Saint, he's it's dope. It's like because Saint is, you know, clearly he's a skilled fighter.
Yeah.
But his approach to things is a little more in line with, you know, the classics, the Luke Cages or whatever. He's that brawler type, the skilled brawler. And then Rex is he's the wiry martial arts guy. He's gonna take the extra steps to beat you up that maybe, you know, Saint wouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so they essentially want the same thing, but they have two different ways of getting there. So they have to decide, you know, or figure out how they can work together with their different styles to accomplish the same goal.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm curious, Wes, when you were writing them, both of the main characters you have to have some sort of vision in your head. And I know that you gave Bryce, as Bryce said, an open sandbox to play. Did you guys have conversations back and forth about, well, I kind of see Saint as a little bit more, or I kind of see Saint as a little bit more of this, and you know, changing back and forth, or the same thing about Rex, visually how they looked? Or did you just say, Bryce, make it happen, and then when he did it, that's what you wanted?
So I gave Bryce a little bit of direction, because and this is something I actually had to learn in the comics writing process. But when you're writing for comics, if you want your artist to create something that looks a particular way, you've got to give them references. I think for Saint, I just described what he looked like physically. Like, he's tall, he's got some muscle, he's got the handlebar mustache, the mullet type hair, and I described his clothing, and I was like, here, Bryce, run with this. So funny story about Rex Sampson. When I was in college, way back when, I did a short film called Karate Chops, and this is where I created the character Rex Sampson. Just a young college co-ed with a bandana around his head and big mutton chops on his face. That's how I actually dressed in college. So when I had a reference for Rex, I just sent Bryce a picture of myself in college, and I was like, this is what Rex Sampson looks like. So So essentially I gave Bryce some details, but again, I trust Bryce as an artist, and I was like, Bryce, I just want to make sure you have these details. The rest, you take it. And I mean, I couldn't have pictured anything better than what he put together for Hard Justice. So that trust comes back into play.
Yeah, like it was really dope too, because because he gave me it's almost like the must-have type of thing. So it was like he gave the notes on the absolutes that he wanted factored into the characters, and then everything else was just, can you building off of this? So I took the references and I took those descriptions, and then I kind of I danced around with those things, and you know, and what I did very specifically, actually, for Saint's character, I referenced Rush Hour and Vampire in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then,
that's awesome.
Yeah, because I wanted to make sure that the style and the mood for Saint was like that he was towering, and at the same time, like, he's not intimidating. Because that was another thing that was really dope about this too, is like breaking tropes, even though we have something familiar, breaking certain tropes, because Saint's character isn't just like the brooding tough guy. Like, I have him smiling and things like that. So it's this whole, it was dope. And then with Rex's character, I visualized, like, you know, Patrick Swayze in Roadhouse. He's kicking in jeans and shit. and then a little bit of that Iron Fist energy.
That's really cool. James, you're going.
So, I was going to say, so one thing I wanted to talk about, not to sound like a real estate agent, but location, right? I have to ask a question, because one of the things that is really important, I think, in comic books is location, right? Superman's Metropolis, Batman's Gotham City. We know those are two very different setups. So when it comes to Paradise Bay, what makes Paradise Bay what Paradise Bay is?
I'll say, and you know, Wes, you correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I know about what is to come versus what we have in this first issue, Paradise Bay, if you think about like Streets of Rage or something like that, right? Like you have this metropolis that is it's gritty in the type of way of like, okay, you have your pockets of your gangs and different things to where, you know, you're going to see some warriors, colorful types of characters walking around the city, but it's not overrun because it's like a dynamic of like, you know, you've got Saint Rex over here, you've got the police, or you've got whatever. So it feels like a power struggle type of thing, and the style of it being very reminiscent of the time frame that we're referencing. It just, I don't know. I feel like it gives this perfect combination of like video game stages mixed with like a real world city. I reference like, you know, Atlanta and places like that. I reference Memphis and based off of research and then some of the descriptions that Wes gave me as well.
That's cool. Well, guys, we've been going for a little over an hour. Where do they go? They can go to
the easiest place to go, the easiest way to find it, www.hardjusticecomic.com.
Yep.
You type in that URL, it redirects you automatically to the Kickstarter page where you can watch the awesome promo video we have. You can check out all the different rewards, and if you will, make a pledge and support us.
So hardjustice.com and
hardjusticecomic.com.
I'm sorry, hardjusticecomic.com. And I will be able to purchase one of those damn hats pretty soon.
Bryce and I will figure it out. We'll make it happen.
Because I want a hat.
Okay.
I just don't, I for some odd reason, like hats. It's just my thing. All right. Do you guys want to say anything else before we go? hardjusticecomic.com.
hardjusticecomic.com. For anyone that does not know me, I'm Bryce Oquaye. So please check me out on Instagram at bmad100s 100s, or everywhere else. You can look up Mr. Mad Hundreds or just Mad Hundreds. I will pop up. And much love to you guys. You know I love y'all. Yeah. And shout outs to Wes.
Yeah, and I can't wait to hang out with you a little bit, Wes, at Lexington Comic-Con. And you guys are both going to be at Lexington Comic-Con, right?
All 4 days.
All 4. Yep. Me too, brother. Me too. People ask, I get this question. It's like, oh my God, you have a blast? And I go, oh, it's more fun than you can, but it's still work. It's work. It's fun, but it's work. Don't forget that part of it. So, Wes, I can't wait to hang out with you. When he messaged me and he said, Bryce told me to reach out. Although I don't know why Bryce just didn't reach out.
Well,
I said anything for Bryce.
I was trying to do, I was looking at it like the indirect introduction type of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's fine. It's fine. We love having artists. We love having writers. We love having you guys on, and you guys are welcome on the show anytime. Thank you so much for coming on. And please go out and just pledge a little bit of money. Doesn't have to be a ton of money, just a little bit, and get yourself a comic. And get
That's right. For $5, you can have Hard Justice.
You can have
Wes, drop your socials. Yeah,
yes. Wes. So if you want to find me, I'm very active on Twitter and Instagram at Wes Writes Stuff.
That's it. I need to actually, I don't think I follow Bryce on Instagram. I need to.
I don't know.
I'm terrible on Instagram, buddy. I am terrible.
I had to set up Instagram for the first time, oddly enough, for work, and I felt immediately like a poser. I was like, I don't take any photos of anything. It's like, oh, look, it's a photo of me at a meeting. So I always felt, but I love seeing what people do on there because it reminds me that I'm so far behind everybody.
He's doing nothing. Yeah, basically. All right. Well, go out, hardjusticecomic.com, correct? Did I get it right that time?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
last time. Wes, Bryce, always a pleasure. This has been Bonehead Weekly.